everybody's favorite quarterback, Oregon quarterback, that is, Marcus Mariota, has inked a 2-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. This comes on the heels of now former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan getting traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And man, Dylan, this QB carousel with NFL free agency just keeps on churning. What are some of your initial thoughts?
Well, my first thought is I used to work at a sports store back in Olympia, Washington, a few years ago, and one of my coworkers was a diehard Falcons fan and also a diehard Ducks fan. So I don't have his number anymore, but I just thought of him like he's got to be the most psyched dude on the planet right now. It just feels like it's been so long coming for the Falcons with Matt Ryan inevitably either like retiring, leaving, getting traded. Like I feel like his name has just been in trade talks and stuff for years and years. Really since like his MVP year. And I'm just super happy for Marcus to be able to finally get an opportunity to step in and be the starter. I would still say I think the Falcons might maybe take a quarterback, maybe not first round now, but probably at some point during the draft. Just because, just to get another young guy out there. I believe their only other quarterbacks are Josh Rosen and Felipe Franks. So not a ton of experience there. So it looks like as of right now, Mariota's job as the starter is secure for the most part. But yeah, I'm super excited to see him, get a deal like this and get a deal with a quarterback needy team to where he could come in and contribute right away. And you like that he's got some familiarity for once with an offensive coordinator, given that he had, I think, 4 different offensive coordinators in 5 years with Tennessee, and Arthur Smith is the head coach now. So he'll have, I'm not 100% sure who calls the plays with Atlanta. I know their, offense was pretty pass heavy for the last few years with Matt Ryan. So, maybe they can get Mariota, keeping him mobile, like what he's been so successful at throughout his career. Felt like in Tennessee, he was kind of limited with his legs. They were trying to make him into a pocket passer, which is not necessarily his strength. So hopefully this opens a new door for his career to, kind of revitalize himself and let people know that he's still worthy of a starting job in the NFL.
It's definitely refreshing to see him get that shot. He's not going to get handed the job, but you just look at all the pieces that are in place and how these quarterbacks have moved around the NFL. And this is probably the best situation for him to get that starting job. When you look at the situation in Las Vegas with Derek Carr being firmly entrenched as the starter and then reuniting with Devontae Adams. I know that you're my resident Packer fan, along with a couple of our other writers at Ducks Digest. So I don't want to put any salt in that wound. I guess I kind of just did by mentioning it a little bit. So I don't want to put too much salt in that wound. But as for the situation that Marcus finds himself going into, I don't think it's the best situation if you're just looking at Atlanta and the pieces that they have. They re-signed Cordero Patterson, who I think really overachieved last year. I think he did a lot better than a lot of people were maybe expecting. Obviously, Kyle Pitts had a pretty solid rookie year, and he's looking like the number one option right now in the passing attack with Calvin Ridley getting suspended for a whole year. I believe that was for betting on games, if I'm remembering that correctly. Which is just it stinks to see that because he was out almost all of last year. I want to say, he took a step back for I believe for mental health reasons, and you can never slide a guy for that. But to see his next year get taken away with a suspension is just tough. But that's kind of the weapons that we're looking at for Marcus. I don't remember Atlanta having a particularly strong offensive line, but a starting job is a starting job. So you gotta be happy for him there. And much like we saw with Marcus during his Tennessee days and pro career so far with all these different OCs and everything, it just makes me think about how when Justin Herbert was at Oregon, he had a lot of different OCs as well, because we had Taggart here, and then Mario came in, and there was Arroyo. So a little bit of these Oregon quarterbacks searching for some continuity.
Absolutely. And I think one thing I really want to see them do is to build some more weapons, because Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end, which you don't hear about that in the NFL. I think it was a single season rookie record, if I'm not mistaken, for an NFL tight end. And the receivers, though, they just don't have the experience. I think their top receiver coming back, I believe, other than Cordero Patterson, is Olamide Zaccheaus, because Russell Gage went to Tampa Bay. Calvin Ridley, you mentioned, got suspended. They have the 8th pick in the draft, and then they have a couple second-round picks. I would expect them to go after some wide receivers for Marcus. Maybe a pick along the offensive line. I don't think it was necessarily a strong suit either. Not going to lie, I didn't watch the Falcons too intently
Dude, come
last
on.
season. So,
Come
yeah,
on.
there's honestly better things I would have, rather done with my time on a Sunday. They were not very good. But I think that there's some pieces for success more so than obviously what he had in Las Vegas. It was cool that second year he was there to see him get used in some short yardage packages, some red zone packages as a runner. And obviously that game against the Chargers in 2020, where he got to go up against Justin Herbert, was like the Oregon football Super Bowl for a lot of people. So, yeah, I think this is a really good fit for him. I would have probably liked to see him go to a Pittsburgh or even in Indianapolis. I know Tampa Bay was getting thrown around when Brady was retired for all but 40 days, but things have changed since then. And Matt Ryan got traded to the Colts. So this really seemed like kind of the last fit for him. Maybe Seattle was another one. I just think Seattle was, they're on the way down. I would not have liked to have seen Mariota go to Seattle, just because I felt like it would have been a similar situation to his last couple of years in Tennessee. So I'm happy with this fit. I think he'll find some success in Atlanta.
To talk about Seattle for a second here, because at being an Oregon site, a lot of our an Oregon podcast, a lot of our fans and audience listeners are Seahawks fans. Is Baker going to be going to Seattle? Who knows? I mean, he's going to be traded. But to just kind of wrap this up with Marcus, a name that I recognized on the Falcons roster for wideouts is Chad Henson, the former Cal receiver. So his name stuck out, but not terribly deep as far as receivers go out there in Atlanta. Probably going to try to draft some offensive weapons, somebody for Mariota or whoever wins that job to pass to. But what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, man, it's just totally escaping me. Hold on. Wow. I think that might – oh, that's what it was. Sorry. Before this trade, I think I had heard some rumors or seen some tweets and stuff on social media about the Falcons maybe taking Malik Willis and then having him develop behind Matt Ryan for a year. But obviously that won't be happening now. And a lot of people are going to have to kind of, refresh their draft news. I'm getting really excited for draft season. I'm trying to follow a lot of it, especially with KT and a couple other Ducks firmly in the conversation to get drafted. But that's kind of the story we wanted to start out with here. Is there anything else you wanted to add on Marcus to Atlanta?
Yeah, just if you haven't seen it already, go check out my story I had on the Ducks Digest website on the Mariota news. Put a little couple nuggets in there for anybody that's interested.
See, that's one of the things that I think makes you a really unique writer, Dylan, and I don't think that you get appreciated for it enough. Is I'll be editing your stories and I'll just be like asking myself, where did he find this like random fact or just things that I never knew. So I think that's really cool. And I think it shows the extra effort that you put into some of these stories.
Appreciate that.
Of course. All right. Marcus Mariota will be playing for the Atlanta Falcons in 2022.